Welcome back to another episode of SNEED-CAST Industry Update, your go-to source for staying sharp in a fast-moving world of manufacturing, packaging, coding, and beyond. If you've been with us for a while, you already know the drill, but if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. We break down the stories shaping our industry so you can stay ahead of the curve without having to dig through the noise. Let's get into what's making headlines this week. I'm your host, Alexa, and today we'll discuss topics ranging from the Federal Reserve's decision to hold interest rates steady amid White House pressure to the Supreme Court's pivotal review of presidential tariff powers. We'll also dive into the escalating tensions surrounding the Greenland purchase attempt and explore how U.S. trade partners are actively cutting deals with each other to shelter their economies from new tariff threats. The standoff over Greenland has created major waves in international relations and global trade. President Donald Trump walked onto the stage at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland on January 21st of 2026, drawing global attention. Trump threatened to impose tariffs on 8 European nations to pressure support for U.S. control over Greenland. The tariffs were set to start at 10% next month and increase to 25% by June. The president emphasized the strategic importance of Greenland for national security and to counter Russian and Chinese influence in the Arctic. He called for U.S. control of Greenland, insisting he wanted right, title, and ownership. Trump said, "We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force, where we would be frankly unstoppable. But I won't do that, okay?" After his speech at Davos, Trump reversed his threat, announcing he had agreed with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on a framework of a future deal on Arctic security. This potential deal involves NATO and Denmark working with the U.S. to build more military bases on Greenland, according to a European official who spoke anonymously. The discussions also include the Golden Dome missile defense program, a $175 billion multi-layered system that would deploy U.S. weapons in space for the first time. Denmark and other NATO members firmly rejected selling Greenland and made clear that their sovereignty must be respected. Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen issued a statement saying he welcomed Trump ruling out taking Greenland by force and pausing the trade war with Europe. Rasmussen added, "Now let's sit down and find out how we can address the American security concerns in the Arctic while respecting the red lines of the Kingdom of Denmark." Trump also stated, "We want a piece of ice for world protection, and they won't give it. You can say yes, and we will be very appreciative, or you can say no, and we will remember." In Greenland, the government responded to the crisis by publishing a handbook in English and Greenlandic, urging citizens to ensure they had enough food, water, fuel, and supplies to last 5 days. Tony Jacobson, a resident of Greenland's capital Nuuk, showed off groceries, including candles, snacks, and toilet paper, saying he thought Trump's rhetoric was just threats, but it's better to be ready than not ready. Another resident, Johnny Hedman, described Trump's approach as insulting, adding, "Living in this nature, you have to be prepared for almost anything. And now there's another threat, and that's Trump." The region braced for impact as financial markets dropped sharply on the initial tariff news, but later rebounded once Trump backed down. Trump's speech included claims such as, "It's a very small ask compared to what we have given them for many decades," citing the U.S. saving Europe during World War II. He questioned NATO's willingness to support the U.S. in a crisis, which led Secretary General Mark Rutte to respond directly, "You can be assured absolutely regarding NATO's commitment." The tariff threats and reversals serve as a stark reminder to business owners and production managers. Global politics can become local business risks overnight. For production floor managers, a 10 to 25% tariff on European products would have immediately raised costs, disrupted supply chains, and jeopardized inventories. For business owners, this is a lesson in the importance of crisis planning and diversification. Policies can swing on every summit, and alliances can be tested without warning. Uncertainty alone can create market hesitation, as reflected in the initial drop and recovery of financial markets after Trump's decision. Keep monitoring developments in U.S.-Europe relations and the Arctic, as decisions at the top can quickly influence operations on the ground. 3 months ago, the Supreme Court heard arguments over President Trump's tariffs on an expedited schedule, creating an industry-wide expectation of a swift decision. Trump's legal team argued that speed was critical for the administration's economic agenda. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent highlighted the urgency in a statement. "The longer a final ruling is delayed, the greater the risk of economic disruption." Still, as of now, nearly 3 months have gone by since the November arguments, with no decisions handed down. Notably, the court isn't scheduled to meet in public for another 3 weeks, a delay adding to industry anxieties. The timeline for this case is now looking similar to the Supreme Court's average turnaround time, which, according to Adam Feldman's empirical SCOTUS, is just over 3 months for an opinion. But in recent years, it often stretches longer, with half or more decisions released in June. For reference, landmark cases like Bush versus Gore were resolved in just over a day, while complex regulatory cases like Gundy versus U.S. took over 8 months from oral argument to opinion. For comparison, the first argued case this term was not decided until January, which is notably slower than the court's traditional pace. Several legal experts, including Jonathan Adler from William & Mary, point out that the time frame alone doesn't indicate how the court will rule, but speculation naturally grows with the wait. Carter Phillips, a veteran lawyer who's argued before the court 91 times, suggests that justices may be more evenly split than they appeared in oral arguments, and that a single wavering fifth vote could be stalling progress. Even if a majority has agreed on the outcome, the presence of a detailed dissent can slow the official release, as was the case with recent opinions. On top of the tariff cases, the court is handling a flood of emergency appeals from the Trump administration, contributing further to the generalized backlog. Mark Bush, an international trade policy expert at Georgetown, weighed in. Like many, I had hoped that the Supreme would rush the decision out, but it's not a surprise in the sense that they have until June and lots of issues to work through. Bush added, "It is the language at the end of the day that's going to make this more or less meaningful." Meanwhile, the tariffs at issue have been a central point in Trump's economic strategy, with the administration emphasizing the real-time effects. The consequences of the Trump administration's policy were playing out in real time in ways that have been both positive and negative. As the case awaits resolution, Trump continues to champion tariffs, publicly calling the lawsuit one of the court's most important decisions. For production floor managers, these ongoing delays have real-time impacts. Planning for material costs and supply chain needs is nearly impossible with tariff structures in limbo. This uncertainty complicates inventory planning. Should you build supply now, at current rates, or hold out for potential changes? For business owners, the absence of a ruling means the cloud of uncertainty remains, potentially stalling CapEx decisions and long-term commitments. Industry leaders are reminded again that legal and regulatory risks is as influential on profitability as any shift in consumer demand or supply. The Federal Reserve has officially pushed the pause button on interest rate cuts. They've decided to leave the key rate unchanged at approximately 3.6% following 3 rate reductions last year. Fed Chair Jerome Powell announced the decision, stating that the economy's outlook has clearly improved since the last meeting. Powell also noted that this improved outlook should boost hiring over time. The Fed's official statement includes signs that the job market is stabilizing, with the economy showing a healthy annual growth rate of 4.4% in the third quarter of last year. Officials see little reason to rush further cuts. However, a key factor remains stubbornly elevated: inflation. The Fed's preferred inflation measure was 2.8% in November, which is above the central bank's target of 2%. Most policymakers still expect to reduce borrowing costs later this year, but they first want to see clear evidence that inflation is moving closer to that 2% goal. The decision wasn't unanimous. 2 Fed officials, Governors Stephen Moran and Christopher Waller, dissented from the decision. They preferred another quarter-point reduction. Moran, a Trump appointee, had also dissented at the 3 previous meetings, pushing for a larger half-point cut. This hold on rates will likely fuel more criticism from President Trump, who has relentlessly attacked Powell for not cutting rates more sharply. The backdrop to this decision is filled with unprecedented pressure from the White House. Powell confirmed the Fed received subpoenas from the Justice Department as part of a criminal investigation into his congressional testimony. He had previously called the subpoenas a pretext to punish the Fed for not cutting rates more quickly. Adding to the drama, the Supreme Court is hearing a case regarding Trump's attempt to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook. When asked for advice for his potential successor, Powell's message was direct: don't get involved in elected politics, don't do it. Let's talk about tariffs. Powell suggests the inflationary impact from tariffs on goods like furniture and appliances is peaking. He said the expectation is that we will see the effects of tariffs flowing through goods prices peaking and then starting to come down, assuming there are no new major tariff increases. So, what does this all mean for the market and for you? For business owners, stable interest rates offer some predictability for borrowing and investment, but the political drama adds a layer of uncertainty. The potential easing of tariff-related cost increases later in the year is a key development to watch. For consumers, borrowing costs for major purchases like homes and cars will remain steady for now. Interestingly, while the Conference Board's measure of consumer confidence just hit an 11-year low in January, consumer spending remains strong. Powell himself commented on this, saying, "The economy has once again surprised us with its strength. Consumer spending, overall numbers are good." Most economists now forecast the Fed will cut rates twice this year, but not until June or later. We are seeing a major shift in global trade dynamics as U.S. partners actively seek shelter from President Trump's. We are seeing a major shift in global trade dynamics as U.S. partners actively seek shelter from President Trump's tariff policies. Long-standing allies are now cutting deals among themselves, desperate to shield their economies from what they view as the president's impulsive wrath. The strategy is clear, diversifying away from a newly protectionist United States. This isn't just about trade agreements. European governments are even reducing their reliance on U.S. digital services like Zoom and Teams. Financially, the impact is already visible in the currency markets. Central banks and global investors are dumping dollars and buying gold, driving the dollar to its lowest level since 2022, against several competing currencies. This shift could mean higher interest rates and prices for American consumers who are already dealing with a high cost of living. Let's look at the specific deals being made. The most eye-opening development is a pact between the 27-country EU and India, which is currently the world's fastest-growing major economy. Negotiators have been working on this for nearly 2 decades, but the pressure from Washington accelerated the process. Thilo Brodman, executive director of the European Machinery Group, VDMA, called this deal much-needed oxygen to a world increasingly dominated by trade conflicts. Similarly, the EU recently announced a trade deal with the Mercosur nations of South America. This agreement, which took a quarter-century to negotiate, will create a massive free trade market of more than 700 million people. Maurice Obstfeld, a former chief economist at the IMF, noted the pressure from Trump made them more eager to accelerate the processes and reach agreement. Wendy Cutler, a former U.S. trade negotiator, was blunt about the situation, stating, "Our trading partners are discovering that the largely one-sided deals they concluded with the U.S. provide little protection." She added that diversification efforts are now on turbocharge. Despite these moves, President Trump remains confident in U.S. leverage. He recently told Fox Business, "We have all the cards," citing America's massive consumer market. Trump also announced a new deal with India on social media, claiming India would reduce tariffs on American products to zero and buy $500 billion worth of goods. However, businesses and legal analysts are still waiting for official White House documents to confirm these details. Some countries like South Korea and Canada find it harder to pivot away. Canada sends 75% of its exports to the U.S., making it tightly linked to its southern neighbor regardless of political friction. Meanwhile, South Korea is under pressure to approve a trade framework and invest the $350 billion promised in their agreement. But the broader trend is undeniable. Foreign countries are trying to reduce their exposure to the United States. Syracuse University political scientist Daniel McDowell observes a vibe shift, noting that investors are reconsidering their relationship with the dollar as the U.S. moves from a source of stability to a driver of unpredictability. And we've made it to recall radar. Our first product of the week, we have Chips Ahoy Baked Bites Brookie. The reason for this recall, there's potential choking hazard due to small cornstarch clumps formed during an incorrect mixing process. This poses a risk particularly to young children and the elderly. As a consumer, you should not consume this product, and you should also contact Mondelez Global LLC at 1-855-535-5948 for more information. And our next product, we have Gerber Arrowroot Biscuits. The reason for the recall, there's potential presence of soft plastic and/or paper pieces due to a supplier issue. As a consumer, you should not feed this product to your child and return the product to the retailer for a refund. You can also contact Gerber at 1-800-4GERBER or 1-800-443-7237 for support. Our next product, we have Why Not Natural Organic Moringa Green Superfood. The reason for this recall, there's potential contamination with salmonella, which can cause serious and sometimes fatal infections, particularly in young children, the elderly, and those with weakened immune systems. You should stop using this product immediately and return the product to the company for a full refund. And our last product, we have Fuzhou fish balls. The reason for the recall, there's undeclared allergens, wheat and sesame, which pose a risk of serious or life-threatening allergic reactions for individuals with sensitivities to these allergens. Do not consume these products if you have allergies to wheat or sesame, and you can contact Koi Trading Incorporated at 323-588-9888. Or email info@koikoitrading.com for return, credit, or replacement instructions. This episode of SNEED-CAST is brought to you by our SNEED Titan tabletop printer. If you are looking to bridge the gap between manual labeling and semi-automated coding, the Titan is your solution. Featuring a horizontal traversing print head capable of producing high-quality prints up to a half-inch tall, it makes adding date codes, lot numbers, or logos effortless. Simply load your cartridge, position your product against the print window, and step on the foot pedal to trigger the print within seconds. That's it for this week's episode of SNEED-CAST Industry Update, but the conversation doesn't stop here. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell down below so that you never miss an update. We also want to hear from you. Drop a comment and let us know what topics you'd like to see us dive into next. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and we'll catch you in on the next one. Bye, everyone.